This episode is brought to you by Animating in Threes, because no one loves us more than us.
We're our own sponsors.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Stefan.
Do you think that the gambler was giving Kenny Rogers life advice and not just gambling advice?
And that's Michael.
And together we're Animating in Threes.
So we are an animation podcast where we dissect an animated film or series and talk about it from an animation... Damn it, I keep stuffing it up. I haven't said it in 2 weeks. I'm not used to it. We are an How do I say it again?
All those sponsorship dollars hard at work.
We are an animation podcast where we talk about an animated movie or series and analyze it from an animator's point of view. And this week, we will be talking about the 2001 film, I believe?
Yes.
Waking Life by Richard Linklater. But before we get into that, we will be talking about some animation news from the past 2 weeks. So last weekend, as of recording this, was D23, the Disney Expo, and there was a lot of news around that. We're not going to talk about any of the interesting stuff.
No!
We're going to be talking about, just the animation news, which obviously isn't as great as MCU or Star Wars news. Sorry.
Yep. Go listen to one of the other 20,000 podcasts about those things.
Okay, let's scroll through this.
Since it's not as interesting, maybe we should make up some news.
No. There is actually quite a bit. Okay. So, I don't know. Last time I think all I said was the...
Welcome to our new segment. Ben scrolls through his notes.
Okay. So, for Disney Plus, there's a lot of stuff that was announced for that. So, one of the things was The Proud Family, which used to be an animated show, and it's coming back as a reboot.
Live action?
No, animated.
Okay.
I don't mind that, but then again, I wasn't too big a fan of the Proud Family. I actually liked the grandmother as the favourite character. I loved how she moved. I just loved her quirkiness. But yeah, I reckon that would be fine as long as they modernise it.
Yeah, okay. So as part of Disney Plus, they're doing a Marvel What If series, and we got a still of Peggy Carter as Captain, not America, because she has the British flag on her. Captain Britain?
Captain Britain, Union Jacqueline, I don't know.
Union Jacqueline.
We got a still of the Peggy Carter version of Captain America, and it looks really cool. I really like the style.
Yeah, it looks like that kind of storybook, like painterly old Disney stuff.
As I said when
But is it going to move? Is it going to animate like that?
I
or is that just the
think that is
promotional
an actual
stuff?
still from the animation, because they did show
'Cause
some animation.
Really nice. It looks weirdly nice.
Oh, did they
Yeah.
show animation? Because...
Yeah, but it wasn't released to the public, that's all.
If you're a bit confused as to what Marvel What If is,
Oh, yeah.
it's basically going to be an animated anthology series taking a look at different what if scenarios.
alternate timelines and
Oh yeah,
whatnot.
and alternate timelines specific to the Marvel
Like,
Cinematic
what
Universe.
if Peggy Carter was Captain America? Or what if there were Marvel zombies?
Yeah, if that sounds exciting, then
Hooray!
yeah, good.
Michael's 110%
I'm giving it
of
my
it.
all.
Again, part of Disney Plus, there's going to be a Short Circuit series. This is not based on the movies, which I am very upset with.
Not at all, or is it?
No.
Or is it?
It's just
based on a
called
similar
Short
premise.
Circuit, which is
Oh,
just
it's a cool-
happens to have the same title.
Does Disney own the rights to Short Circuit?
I don't know.
So wait, it's got
Probably.
nothing to do with Short Circuit, but it's called Short Circuit.
Yes. So basically, do you know how there was a few months ago there was these Pixar shorts created by people in Pixar?
They do often create shorts that are owned
Anyway,
by
so
Pixar.
it's people working in Disney who don't traditionally work in the storytelling part, but they get to
like Kickball?
yeah, like that.
Okay.
So they get to tell their own story with Disney just gives them a bit of a budget to make their own story, which is pretty cool. Giving people a chance to tell their own stories who might not usually get that chance.
Short Circuit was distributed by TriStar Pictures.
Is that owned
That's
by
the
Disney
pony,
now?
isn't it?
Yes.
That's the Pegasus.
Pegasus.
Yes.
Is it owned by Disney now, TriStar?
I don't know. No, owned by the Japanese multinational conglomerate Sony Corporation.
Sony, okay. There's going to be another Disney Plus series called Forky Asks a Question, where Forky asks a question about life from Toy Story 4.
Oh, stop!
It's so monopolizing.
Stop, Disney!
More Disney Plus news. There's going to be a new Phineas and Ferb movie. which is good. I like this show. The show was good.
Yeah, but
from
didn't
what I
it
remember.
end? It ended with them grown up.
Well, there's gonna be a movie. Okay, more Disney Plus news. On Disney Plus when it comes out, there's gonna be a documentary about making Frozen 2, which I'm actually looking forward to.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it going to be really
Clean.
and glossy and
Yes, but it's still interesting to see how they do the things and like what type of programs they use and all that sort of stuff.
that stuff is fun. But like in every other kind of recent corporate making of, they tend to gloss over the actual kind of technicalities of filmmaking in favor of talking about kind of cast relations
Yeah.
and like the creative process.
Don't make me sad. Let me look forward to this.
No, never.
Okay, more Disney Plus news. They're gonna make a short film about Bo Peep, what happened between when she was sold and
There's a spin-off
and
prequel.
Toy Story 4. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, he's gonna get an animated series. He was one of the original Disney characters. But then he got buried under all this paperwork and stuff, and he was owned by someone.
Wait, is this just
Okay.
is this just meant to counter the fact that Netflix has a Cuphead series?
Probably.
Because Oswald the Lucky Rabbit looks like old-fashioned Mickey.
But Oswald is boring.
Yes. Well, no, he's a rabbit.
Have you ever watched Mickey Mouse cartoons? There's just like nothing to that character.
Apparently the new one's actually pretty alright. They're styled in the old-fashioned way, but they're like HD and all that.
Yeah.
They're not styled in the old-fashioned way. It's got
Their
a very
character
modern...
design is, but not the animation style.
There's just a lot of racist overtones. No, I don't like. I don't want to speak out against like all like Disney animated properties because like there's a series of Goofy cartoons from I think the mid 1950s which are still hysterical.
Goofy was different though. Goofy's like a king of comedy in that sense.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
slapstick,
King
especially.
of comedy. He's a Rupert Pupkin.
Yes, he really is.
So next year, around November for America and Boxing Day for Australia, there's going to be a new Disney animated film, and it is not a sequel to anything. It's an original
It's a prequel
film.
to something.
No, it's an original film called Raya the Last Dragon, and it looks pretty good.
Is it traditionally animated or is it 3D?
It's 3D. What do you think?
Traditionally animate something, Disney. You have all the money in the world.
Apparently not enough to open up a movie 2D studio. thing.
I guess like they don't make money, right? When like the last cup, because what was the last
Princess and the Frog.
Princess and
Princess
the
the Frog? When was Home on the Range?
2005?
Yeah, that's when they started to die.
That wasn't Disney, was it?
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying just
Home
like
the Range was Disney?
Yes.
no, I'm just saying
Oh,
like
wow.
like the entire kind of like medium of cinematic 2D animation kind of petered out in the mid 2000s and
Disney Plus news. There's gonna be a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated series.
I've never read a comic about them in my life.
But it sounds so ridiculous that I am looking forward to it.
It's gonna be canon with their films or whatever.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I don't think it would be, at least. Because it's not under the Marvel Studios banner.
Oh, it's on the Marvel TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Make more Daredevil.
for those who don't know who Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur are, I don't know who Moon
Neither
Girl
do we.
But Devil Dinosaur is literally just a dinosaur. Okay, there's a new Frozen 2 poster, which Stefan said was really weird.
Is it a picture of the protagonist in the woods and it's snowing?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't even know.
No, but the problem with it is that
Ben showed me a picture. It's exactly what I thought, even though I've never seen it before.
it looks like they just got the default 3D renders they have of their characters and just stuck it in a really nice 2D background, but without even blending them at all.
Can I see it closer?
Like they don't. There's this disjoint
Oh yeah,
to
that's
it.
really bad.
Look, it's better than the Sony Spider-Man posters.
Not sure. The Sony Spider-Man posters have an artistry to them.
That does have an artistry. Like it looks like they took concept art.
Yeah,
And
and
then yeah.
you can actually see the paper grain as well if you zoom in.
No, I like the texture,
that. That's
but I
beautiful.
don't like the 3D characters just kind of placed there.
They're
I
not
would have
s-
liked it without the
They're
characters.
not superimposed badly. There's still like an atmospheric haze around them. That kind of cements them in that
Yeah, I guess.
that landscape. But yeah, like it's having conflicting art styles is kind of strange. But who cares? It's the poster to Frozen 2.
Okay, so Disney Pixar's Soul film, which is coming out next year, they released
That
some
looks interesting.
art.
They did release art.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Concept art or stills?
concept art.
Are we sure this is going to be 3D?
Yes.
That looks 2D.
Here's our new segment. Ben hands his phone around, and you have no context for what we're looking at.
Look, all of this is on the Animating on 3's Twitter page. I hope Pixar do blend a bit more with 2D and 3D, because one of my favourite shorts of theirs is Night and Day. And that was a great blend of 2D and 3D. And like with 3D technology becoming more and more advanced, you could easily blend more 2D stuff in with it, which I
Especially
think would
if
be a
you-
great way to introduce 2D stuff back into the mainstream.
Especially considering Pixar has the capabilities to do both 2D and 3D.
Definitely the monetary capability.
Oh no, I mean like technical capabilities.
Okay, they released their new concept photo for Amphibia Season 2, which is coming out next year, and it looks like they're going on a road trip. That's all else.
Amphibia, we've got plot now. I love it.
Yay. They released a poster and a new still for Disney Pixar's other film coming out next year, Onward.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They released a
also-
description of the movie online as
So
well.
at D23, they showed 8 minutes of the film. Someone wrote the description of it online, and it is very sad.
Oh.
It's not what I was expecting at all.
So what do you think Onward is about, based on that one trailer?
It's about Tom Holland
Yeah.
and Danny DeVito. Who's the other guy?
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I get them
The
confused.
exact opposite of Danny DeVito.
And they live in a world where they live in the Bright universe. And they go on a road trip in their pot van.
Okay, so
that it?
this is what it is. So it's Tom Holland's 16th birthday.
The mum doesn't die of like fantasy cancer or something, does she?
No, but the dad has already died.
Oh.
So their dad is dead. Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, they're brothers, right? And their dad has died a while back. And on Tom Holland's 16th birthday, they get this secret message where you say, "Hey, you have 24 hours where you can revive me,
Or we'll kill your other parent.
and then you can talk to me within that 24 hours."
Oh, that's miserable.
I know. So then they do, but something goes wrong, so only get half of him, which is his legs. And then they have to go on a quest to get a magical thing to get the rest of him.
But they have his legs disembodied, just kind of walking
There.
with them.
Is that where the comedy comes from?
Probably
This isn't a comedy.
No, it's a somber meditative think piece.
called Waking Life by Richard Linklater.
Waking Life by Richard Linklater.
Okay, Star Wars The Clone Wars, that is coming back to Disney Plus on February next year, which I am upset about, but it makes sense. Why
So
am I upset?
after the
Because
movie.
yeah, so it was teased. They said they were going to release it over a year ago now, and they're still not going to release it for another half year.
Look, they're probably just buttoning out the niches
Star
and
Wars
trying to
stuff.
make it really nice.
No, what they're doing is it makes sense because in November you have The Mandalorian, which comes out with Disney Plus, and then in December you have Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and then you need a bit of a buffer from that, which is when the
Also,
Clone Wars comes
Resistance
out.
is in there. As
Yeah,
well.
and Resistance is there, so it's a bit of an oversaturation, which I get, but I've been waiting for a long time. I just want it. Disney, give me the Clone Wars. Let me see it before anyone else, please.
And then destroy it.
One last piece of news. There was a trailer. This isn't Disney Plus news, so hooray for that. It's Netflix news, another streaming company. The trailer.
See, Netflix and Disney, we basically advertise you for free.
So there was a trailer for Disenchantment Season 2.
What are your thoughts on the first season?
So far,
Are you going to finish it?
I probably am, but
Okay.
it's not bad, but it's not great.
I just don't like animations that go over 30 minutes.
No,
In terms of
they-
TV shows.
No, they tend to be a little bit like long-winded and meandering.
And because there's no ad breaks or anything, they can have the longer episodes, but that's a bit.
No,
of a
but
detriment to them.
I think that's a detriment
Yeah.
to the pacing because they feel like that they don't really have restrictions in terms of runtime, so they're less inclined to
Put their best stuff.
to put their best foot forward and cut out the stuff that doesn't quite work. They leave everything in. It feels like whether you look at like Futurama or The Simpsons, you got this very tight 22-minute structure. You got to make sure that none of that space is wasted because 22 minutes is not a lot of time for a 3-act structure. It's also edited quite strangely. Season 1, all the sound mixing is.
There's not
really-
enough sound, I think.
No, yeah, like
It's very empty.
just the entire sound design is really subpar, and I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the setting being mostly kind of naturalistic and but I don't remember going back to watch Futurama. Like, there's not that same issue, even though
It was made 20 years ago.
even though again it was made 20 years ago, but like when you listen, there doesn't seem to be any noise in the background either. There's not much atmospheric noise, so I don't know why Disenchantment feels so empty as well. I mean, feels so empty.
I guess
in comparison,
because it's a fantasy, you expect more of that sound from it, I guess. Whereas,
yeah, like birds, like ambience, just anything.
Speaking about things that came out 20 years ago, let's talk about Waking Life.
Which came out 18 years ago. Or
Close
if you're
enough.
listening to this podcast, whenever. Like in the future, I guess.
In the future.
So, Waking Life. Boy, oh boy. What a fun one to discuss this will be.
Yeah, so I watched the first half of this when I was really tired. I really shouldn't have.
That would have been an interesting state to watch it in. Did you kind of go with it? Or were you just confused and angry?
I was just like, when is the plot gonna come in?
And it never does.
Until it does in the second half.
When it becomes about lucidity and not about...
Yeah, when it comes to the part that Mark showed us,
Yes!
that's when the plot kicks in. But before then, it's just like, where is this going?
I think Mark is a vague enough name to explain who that is. Mark was our film tutor at university. And this, we're not sure, but may have been his favourite film.
It was definitely the one whenever we mentioned animation to the film class, he would say animation can achieve great things like in Waking Life. He always used
I feel like he's
Waking
never
Life.
seen an animation film except for Waking Life.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of
But
film.
then again, Mark had never seen Back to the Future,
Oh.
which surprised
Oh.
me for a film tutor.
Oh, I
Anyway,
didn't-
Mark was
my
the best
ess-
tutor I ever had for anything.
Oh,
so
he's
it's fine.
incredible. I wish I
One,
could get him on
one
the
of my
podcast.
essays was about Back to the Future.
Sorry?
One of my essays was about Back to the Future.
Yeah,
So
he probably just ticked it because he has no frame of reference for what you're talking about. No, he was fantastic. I
Anyway,
hope he starts a podcast one
and
day.
he showed us a clip from Waking Life, which is about in the middle of the film, and that was my first.
When the main
exposure
character is
to it.
talking to Kevin Smith about dreams. Or whatever.
Anyway, enough about this part. Let's get into the production notes. Oh no.
So, I have to talk about this now. This will be fun. I should have just paid the $35 and bought the Dark Knight Returns DVDs.
What have the Dark Knight Returns DVDs done?
No, because I said that the reason I picked this film like last time is because I didn't want to pay for 2 DVDs because they sell the Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 separately.
You mean
It's
the
one
Killing
film
Joke?
put in one box.
You mean the Killing Joke, not the Dark Knight Returns?
No, the Dark Knight Returns.
He did say the Dark Knight
That's
Returns.
an animated thing?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. He yeah.
Anyhow, back on track.
So,
Sorry, Mike. There's just gonna be a lot of editing.
oh yeah. So Richard Linklater, he is a director man. He made a film. That's all I have. Like, okay, Richard Linklater. Would you describe him as like an auteur, like semi-independent filmmaker?
Yes.
I'd call him as an experimental filmmaker.
Yeah. He tends to make kind of like his films don't tend to be somber. I'd like to describe them as sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're quite kind of downbeat, quiet, ponderous, meditations about, life and personal philosophy. And a lot of them a lot of his work seem to be just like little, like observational pieces, little slice of life stuff. Like you got Dazed and Confused, which is a bit of a meditation on like, I think like life post high school and like, like anxiety regarding the future. You got,
Darkly Scanner?
do you know about that?
No,
'Cause I
I
don't.
I just know Keanu Reeves is in it.
The only
I
other
like it.
film of his I've seen is Boyhood.
Yeah, and I was gonna say then there's Boyhood, which is another kind of, admittedly large slice of life, where it's just an exploration of what it's like to grow up, and it's like you wouldn't call it plotless, but it's more kind of driven by one child's kind of like emotional journey, and like the film's focus kind of changes direction as his focus in life changes.
Yeah,
I suppose because
I guess you could say his films are more about emotional journey than plot.
Yeah. He doesn't kind of adhere to like narrative linearity in the conventional sense. His films are much more kind of emotional and non-linear and existential, I suppose. So that's Richard Linklater. He's also in the film. He plays a guy. So it's we should have started with this. The film was released in 2001, and it's a rotoscoped. I've heard it being described as a docu-fiction film. So it's based around kind of real personalities. It doesn't quite follow
A
like
script.
characters. No characters per se.
Oh.
It's more the actual kind of stream of consciousness, moral philosophies of kind of interviewees.
Yep.
Almost. The film follows. I couldn't know if this was the actor or character's name, Willie Wiggins, because it doesn't sound real.
On IMDb, the main protagonist, he doesn't have a name. He's just his main character or
and he's
main
played by
protagonist.
Willie Wiggins.
Yes.
I apologize, Mr. Wiggins. Your name is real. The film is basically follows Willie Wiggins, an unnamed character, goes on kind of like a weird, surreal journey, just kind of engaging with, a parade of characters.
Yeah, and it's like a series of interviews in which he just observes and listens to all their stories and reflections on reality, life, and that sort of thing.
And he's just wondering if he's in a waking life.
Or not.
No, just...
Nope. He's probably in a dream because he flew into the sky at the end. So the film was released on January 23rd, 2001. It opened at the Sundance Film Festival and was distributed by Fox Searchlight. So this is technically now owned by Disney.
Yeah, it is.
Can we get the same thing but remade with Disney characters?
Oh. So it had a relatively modest budget of $3.2 million.
Okay.
And it's employed a digital rotoscoping technique. So the entire film is animated digitally or rotoscoped digitally, which you can tell because it has kind of this digital vectorized quality to a lot of it. A lot of it almost seems like a filter that they've placed over it because its rotoscope was in some occasions such precision, but then again the animation style constantly shifts based on the mood of certain characters or subjects in certain scenes. So
you can definitely tell the digitalize and vectorization, as Ben has noted before,
which I'll talk about later.
Yeah. So this definitely is. It's a Linklater film through and through. It's a sleepy, ponderous think piece, debating philosophy and the meaning of life. And the film, I think, at its core is about consciousness and about the meaning of life. And, as the protagonist kind of moves through the film and, interacts with this, endless barrage of characters and starts kind of absorbing all these, varying moral philosophies.
He calls it like data.
Yeah,
all this data.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you do kind of collate all this data and then you kind of process it and it becomes
your own.
Yeah, it becomes your own. You interpret it the way you want, and if you choose to let that influence your actions or your thoughts, then you can do that. But if you can choose to ignore it as well. It depends. You can take it in. It just depends on, I guess, your processing after the fact. The film's kind of animation style, like I was saying before, kind of distorts and changes as he, again, takes in all this data. And the animation style, it almost seems arbitrary the way it shifts. It kind of seems to reflect either the energy that a lot of characters that are exuding. He speaks to an Irish or what he is, like a philosopher, an educator, something like that. And he's quite an animated, eccentric personality.
Was it the guy with the balloon head?
Yeah, when he was just constantly shifting. The
he
way
had long fingers.
Yeah, the way he was animated. It's still very, very obviously rotoscoped because there is a precision to a lot of his hand mannerisms.
But it's distorted. Yeah.
Mannerism comes from the word hand, so would it even be anyway? So he's the film's prism in which we view that character is very distorted and flowing and fluid. But the way we view kind of the more personal moments with the protagonist as he's walking down the street, the animation style can switch to incredibly realistic and very physically sound style. So yeah, I guess it depends on the subject of the scene, but the energy that they're giving off.
It's also important to know that it's not like each conversation in the film has a different style. Sometimes it changes mid conversation. They'll have one style, then it'll cut to a different shot of the other character and they'll look super realistic.
Yeah, which is, again, the core ethos of the film, or what I guess the core, the conceptual driving force behind it is, the film operates on a dreamlike reality, this ethereal, changing, fluid, prismic view of the world.
Yeah. I found that one thing that really worked well for it is when it does how the main character tries... He keeps saying that, oh, you're the person who gave me this lift on a boat, and all the characters he meets are like, no, I'm not. Why do you think I am?
Yeah.
And that, in a dream, there are times when, for some reason, you just assume that this person you're meeting is the person who you met before, and you just make that connection that, it's that person.
But they don't operate on that level of reality. There's no object permanence in dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
It's constantly shifting.
And I think it really captures that that feeling of being lost in that dream cycle.
Yeah, because it's kind of great in that sense because there's absolutely no physical rigidity at all in kind of the world of the film. So it is quite groundbreaking rotoscoping techniques for the time, especially because it's all digital. It took, I happen to do 250 hours to animate completely, which
What?
That can't be right. That's too short.
Yeah.
Right?
That feels very short.
Yeah.
That's literally just over 10 days.
To be fair, though, if you have a bunch of people just rotoscoping, like rotoscoping...
It didn't say how many people were rotoscoping, though.
It could have been a million
Could have
people
been a million
rotoscoping.
people, then it makes sense.
And also...
We got 100 million people, and they all animated one frame. At the same time. It was done in 30 seconds. Yeah?
No, I just thought that there's a lot of the films, a lot of the sequences in the film, the only thing that makes it feel consistent in terms of animation is that it's rotoscope. But a lot of the painting and the cell shading and anything that gives shadow is constantly moving. So you don't need to pay attention to onion skinning. You don't need to pay attention to consistency in terms of animation and movement. So really, if you were just doing this like as a procedural thing, not even worrying about anything beforehand, it could work.
I have misread the article. It took 250 hours to animate 1 minute of film.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense.
So it's the opposite spectrum. Spectrum.
The animation of the film was overseen by an Austin artist named Bob Sabatston. The software used for the film is his own personal software.
Yep.
So
That's cool.
So it's in a wide article I read about the production of the film. It's referred to as Bob's software. So presumably like a personalized program written by him.
Sponsor us, Bob Software.
His name isn't Bob Software.
No, I want the program to sponsor us.
Okay, it'll be a nice change from us sponsoring us. That's Waking Life. It was released to generally positive reception. What did you guys think?
I'll go last.
Ben.
I said last.
Stefan, the other one.
There are two of us in the room, Michael. There are two of us. Okay, so what did I think? So, it was very interesting in terms of dreamlike aesthetics. Like, it's not anything you would imagine this sort of film looking like. And it's very, like, it's got its clean lines, so it's definitely quite a treat to look at times.
Yeah.
At other times, it can look a bit messy, but overall, it has this really nice, comforting kind of aesthetic where nothing looks too gross out to really distort your view or alienate you. But also, mistakes in the animation and in the line work and colours actually adds to it,
doesn't it?
Like,
yeah.
there are times when you'll see that the colours completely miss the line, or a character doesn't have a neck, or something like that. But it adds to it.
Because a dream would be like an imperfect abstraction of reality. So, yeah, you wouldn't expect absolute rigid perfection in, like, the visuals of this film.
Yeah.
Which is also just an excuse to make mistakes and not bother fixing them.
Exactly. But,
just at this... Maybe that he was trying to animate a realistic film. They kept stuffing it up. It's like, just make it a dream!
Whatever!
Well, I don't care!
In terms of, what I thought about it, though, in contrary to what you may think, Michael, I actually thought it was quite relaxing. But at the same time...
Did I say it wasn't relaxing? What did I say?
No, you were just making it sound as if it was quite what do we say about this?
No, it's not... I wouldn't describe it as, like, energetic. It doesn't really raise your heart rate.
No.
If anything, you just kind of relax into it. And
yeah.
It's quite, like, there's a weird kind of warmth to it, because, like, you do associate dreams with kind of rest and comfortability. Yeah, and like, a lot of the philosophy isn't negative. It's kind of emotionally neutral. A lot of it, they just kind of talk about, like, like, quite heavy existentialist questions, like the nature of death and consciousness. Like, their outlook on, each of the characters' outlook on life, a lot of it isn't inherently negative, although some characters do think that. It's just, like, I guess, like, a lot of, like, philosophy, like, a lot of it is interpretive. Yeah, so did you find it relaxing?
I thought it was relaxing, like, especially with when the main character finally gets his say to express what he feels about reality and dreams, and he's talking to that woman in that black background. Usually if you have a black background, you feel isolated, but in this case it felt quite warm and just nurturing. And a lot of the film, I thought, like, the shaky camera all throughout, that kind of annoyed me at the start, but then
you settle into it.
Yeah, you settle into it, and it
yeah.
just feels part of the world, and you get a sense that, okay, this is how it's going to be for the rest of the film. And I thought it was quite interesting. It was a nice, like, it's long. It is a long film.
It's too long. I think I'll say it. Because, like, once you start to settle into it and you realise that it's just going to be, like,
this
little philosophical vignettes, like, you do... Like, I wasn't excited when I realised it was going to be that.
No. And also, like, as Ben has also told me, that, like, you can't even focus on the visuals and the dialogue at once. You have to choose one.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on the dialogue, it's so intricate and intelligent and whatever that you can't even you can't even pay attention to what's going on. So you have to choose one.
Yeah.
Either you want to view it as a silent film or hear it as a podcast. They're your two options.
It almost does sound like a podcast because you turn away and it's just very, they are kind of casual, albeit very well articulated interviews.
Yeah, no one in their right mind could talk this well.
No, yeah, a lot of it is like just ramblings of just like crackpots, like a couple of it, with like
grand articulation.
No, some of them aren't. Like the guy in the car who's just kind of screaming into a microphone. Actually, even then, he very clearly enunciates exactly what he needs to say.
Yeah.
So no, I suppose you're right. Every character very clear. Like there's no stumbling.
No.
We stumble a lot.
But
in the podcast,
I do find there are times when the aesthetics do work well to really establish, as you said, like a character's state of mind or really emphasize who this character is. Like when it shows that guy screaming in the car, he is the most simple style out of any of the characters, and it feels like he's very raw and like he doesn't have a lot of depth to him. Whereas you get some of the scientist characters, and they have this grand detail and painterly style. It really gets that. It really gets that feeling across to the audience in more than just a spoken dialogue way.
Yeah, I want to talk more about how animation reflects like the different emotional states of characters. But Ben, you hated it.
I didn't hate it. So when I watched this, I was tired. I really
Not a
shouldn't
good
have
idea.
You don't watch this film when you're tired because you're going to end up just wishing it was over. Okay, so I watched the first half when I was tired. And as I was watching it, as you guys said, you just realized this is just going to be a whole lot of conversations that are loosely linked, but there's not going to be any plot. Why is there not any plot in the first half of the film? It's super annoying me. If you can have this,
it's an experimental film.
I know. If you're going to have all these nice visuals and stuff, put something behind it to drive it forward. Don't just have it just. If it's just visuals just for the sake of visuals, why do that?
I argue there was. There was that first setup.
There's kind of a plot, like he tries to get in the car at the start, and at the end he still can't get in the car.
Floats away.
That's the end.
Just because of cyclical storytelling doesn't mean there was a plot, though.
I wanted to say cyclical. I said cyclical!
The only time you pronounce it correctly is when it wasn't needed.
And as for the vector art, I found a lot of it very samey. I know there's like distinct styles for a lot of it, but because of how vector art works, and because this was back 20 years ago when like it wasn't as advanced as it is now, I just found a lot of it like it was kind of doing the same thing from scene to scene, where I was expecting vastly different things, like separating each conversation from the next, but it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Which I kind of found annoying.
Yeah.
And then there was also times where like it's rotoscoped, right? But a lot of the times,
Thanks, Max Fleischer.
a lot of the times there was like the head and the arms were moving, or a arm was moving, but the other arm and the torso was just a still image. I found that just really unprofessional in a way. Like, I get this didn't have a lot of budget and everything, and they had like deadlines and all that, but there was a bit of a disconnect there for me. And what else bad things do I want to say about this before I get into a few good things? I personally didn't like how... Yeah, I know it's like a dream state and everything, but I didn't like how everything had to move constantly in the background. It wasn't...
I liked that about it.
I know, this is just me. Like, it wasn't disorientating, I just found it annoying. Because I'm just thinking, like, if I did something like this when I was in uni, and I had all the backgrounds just moving and not, like, on a good tracking map, I would have been marked down much.
Adam Elliott would have hit you with his hat.
He would have. But now this guy doesn't. He gets all the bloody praises and everything. So that annoyed me.
He got an Oscar because he filmed the kid for 13 years. When I do that, I go to prison.
What ages were the kid?
Am I going to cut that joke? I don't know.
Okay.
It was kind of a joke.
It was kind of a joke,
works.
but it sounds like an admittance of guilt. Put it at the
And
end.
yet-
No one will listen past 5 minutes.
But, so, we watched Loving Vincent a few weeks back, and this felt very much kind of like a precursor to that, because it is like a rotoscoped experimental piece, and it...
With a constantly kind of moving...
Yeah, and it had
aesthetic.
a lot of conversations and all that sort of stuff. But whereas Loving Vincent had a pretty decent plot behind it, I just found that just the lack of plot in this is my main criticism. Just because films are meant to be a narrative, right?
Oh, I mean, it's experimental, so it's not abiding by
Nonetheless,
those kind of trappings.
it should still have I think it should have a stronger narrative weaved throughout it.
Should have more Transformers.
Exactly. Stefan, get those Transformers up on that shelf and let's put them in the film.
But it's not a stop motion film, Ben.
I want that purple scorpion one.
Okay, but there are some things.
Gotta say, I don't think this will be a very long episode.
I know.
I'm already starting to wrap up.
There are.
I've got nothing else to say.
I do have a few really there are parts that I really liked though, such as when he is talking to the scientist who is talking about how people are starting to view science as and the universe as a type of god, and how they actually animated his conversation.
Yeah.
I really
That's the
found
Irish guy, right?
No.
Oh no.
You know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah, the
when he was
holiness
talking
guy.
about no.
The guy who's talking about holiness.
No.
Oh no, the guy.
You just said...
The scientist
He
guy.
talks-
Oh, that's
He talks to so many people. You can't blame us.
I know. So he was talking to how he believes science is a type of god, right? And how the atoms, how some are random and some aren't, and that how it affects
It's
us.
the quantum physics one.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
the
got
quantum
it.
physics guy, and I really enjoyed that conversation just because they actually animated different stuff around him. His head just turns to a bunch of bubbles at one point, which is really cool. And they did a few other things like that, which I thought was awesome.
There were some of that were even though you might not subscribe to the specific philosophies, presented, some of them are just kind of interesting thought experiments.
And I think that was one of the few where I could pay attention to both the conversation and the art as well.
Yeah, because it just becomes, they kind of start to work in unity. It just becomes this odd kind of psychedelic experience.
And another one that Stefan briefly mentioned was the Holy One. Do you remember?
Stefan.
So, Stefan mentioned it, where the main character, he's sitting in a cinema watching these two people have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting about, the hair... Okay, I did forget a lot of what they said, but, it was really interesting how they blended it together, with the two having a conversation where one of them wasn't him. And, between shots, they would change the style, and then eventually towards the end of the conversation, their styles actually started to switch on screen, which I found really interesting. And also, his hair, the guy's hair just kept moving in this cool wave type of fashion, and it was very mesmerizing.
I remember their conversation was a barely I can say, but it was something about how God exists in the actions you do, the pure actions you do, and how you share them. And this is one of those things where it was so intellectual that half the things they said, 80% of what was said went straight over my head. I am not a smart person. I could barely tell what was going on. I was just yes, you are talking philosophy.
Yes, Lisa,
Daddy
Daddy's
is a teacher. But it was I get that you're trying to sound smart, and it does sound smart, but get some sort of a point out of this just so I can understand it on a brief level. And in some of those, it did work. At the end, it shows that, the art style turns them into clouds. And that shows,
that was beautiful, that shot.
shows, so he has this, divine perspective of, actions of mankind or whatever, something
think
like that.
Stefan,
Holy moly.
I quite liked the conversation between the couple in bed, kind of talking about the nature of the present.
I did too.
I really,
Yeah, that was good too.
And it's
With the one name actor.
yeah,
Ethan
exactly.
Hawke.
How do we define? Kind of pondering how do we define the present? Are all of our collective experiences just the dreams of a dying person?
When they also was talking about how all of time is in one instant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what was they talked about? Who was it?
Philip K. Dick.
Philip K. Yeah, Philip.
That
K.
was the
Dick.
pinball person at the end who was talking about.
Oh,
Philip
okay.
K.
Because
Dick.
Philip K. Dick talked about how time is an artificial construct. Time is the illusion of progression when we're all actually stuck in
15
the,
AD.
the first century. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, again, this is one of those
Do
things...
I believe it? No.
This is one of those things where I could not understand. Like, I could hear that they were speaking words.
I could hear the words.
And the words had a really nice rhythm to it that matched the visuals beautifully, but I could not understand any of them to save my life.
I think you're more in tune to visual symbolism. I think you like Dali-esque surrealism, and
Yeah.
I think you pick up on visuals.
And there
maybe
was some
more
of
than
that-
like just verbal philosophy.
There was some of that in this where the visuals really reflected
Yeah.
more things symbolically. A thing that I also noticed, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but the theatre scene especially reminded me so much of Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, that's another
That's another film that is about dreams.
Yeah. I guess another thing, like one of the tonal consistencies across all of David Lynch's films is like the ethereal, and kind of these airy, lucid, dreamlike states. It's a narrative and aesthetic concept that kind of binds a lot of filmmakers, and I think Richard Linklater and David Lynch, despite all else, kind of have that in common.
Can I say a part that I did actually generally really like in the film?
Generally or genuinely?
Genuinely, sorry. How they animated musical instruments. They
Yes,
look
that was
so
very good.
nice.
Yeah.
They had that crisp, lineless style. I loved how the rotoscopeness was able to be bent in a way where it still looks like the characters were warm and having fun with the instruments.
They kind of incorporate motion blur into it.
Yeah.
So,
And I also really enjoyed the color palette for that too. It was like a kind of a cafe style
Yeah.
color palette, which I found really pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, it's almost expressionism. We did a whole podcast episode on Vincent Van Gogh and about loving Vincent, and it reminded me of that a lot. Just again, this warm kind of like in certain scenes of the film, and other scenes just madness.
Yeah, but the thing is,
like a warm storybook aesthetic.
I liked when the film went into that sort of style where it was like completely different to everything else. Like that wasn't a nice, clean type of rotoscope.
Yeah.
Just like and when he bumps into the woman at the train station in the middle, and he ends up talking to her in that black void.
Yeah.
How that went like really, really like cartoon, like almost comic cartoon like, if you know what I mean.
It's actually funny that those were two different women.
Yeah.
Like it's because dreams
Again, it's a
work in
dream.
a strange way where you think one character's a character, and when you see a new character, you embed that other character's personality onto that character. And this film really relishes in that idea, but does it in a way where it doesn't explain it to the audience. You kind of just get a feeling of it. Like, you just assume that woman is the same woman he met in the station, but they're not. They're two completely different characters. They don't even have the same haircut.
Yeah.
And I found those parts really interesting. And a part that also terrified me, because parts in this film really terrify me because it just...
I thought it was relaxing, Stefan.
It was
It
relaxingly
was relaxing
terrifying.
up until that point that guy in prison said he was going to stab me in the face.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that monologue.
Yeah. That was... Yeah, we'll get to that, but...
No, but the parts when... Have you ever been in a dream where you see something that's familiar, but it blurs out of your vision and it keeps blurring and blurring and blurring out until you can't see anything, you just see
Yeah,
void?
there's the conversation with that guy that looks a little bit like Jack Black and a little bit like Kevin Smith. When they talk about like the nature of dreams as like there's not really a tangibility to them.
Apart from turning on and off lights.
Yeah, like once you start to consciously observe in a dream anyway, once you start to try and consciously observe like small details and minutia like text in books or like the time or things like that, that's when like kind of the entire reality starts to fall apart. Yeah. I forget where I was going with this. So Stefan, what do you think of that guy who wanted to stab all the cops in the face?
Oh, I love how he said he was going to do basically what Michonne did in that one Walking Dead episode.
Nah, he stabbed him in the butt.
And wasn't he saying he was innocent as well?
It didn't sound like the ramblings of an innocent man.
Exactly. So that really confused. Like
It sounded like he was going to stab the police in the face.
if you're innocent, you wouldn't be saying any of that stuff at all. But I guess that is
I'm
the point
so
of it.
innocent that I'm going to cut off your eyelids and shove a cigarette in your eyes.
But that is
That's how innocent I am.
the
All right,
racism.
final thoughts about...
Sorry.
This is a very short episode, but final thoughts about Richard Linklater's 2001 experimental docu-fiction, The Film, Breaking Life.
Don't watch this when you're tired. I think a lot of my enjoyment was sapped because I was tired, and I didn't get to experience it like these two did. So that's that's what I recommend. Just don't watch it when you're tired. And you'll probably have a fun time with this experimental piece. Especially when the guy sets himself on fire. That was one of my favourite parts because I just wasn't expecting it.
For me, it feels, despite the fact that it has really old phones they used to call, it feels quite timeless. Like, you can watch this now and you could not tell that it was 20 years old.
No.
Like,
I mean, they do mention explicitly that it's 2001 in one
Wait!
scene.
Yeah.
His bloody hairstyle is a dead giveaway that it's from 20 years ago. I hate his hairstyle.
You guys just don't like cooperating with me at all, do you?
Okay, sorry, that's the end of my bad stuff about it. Go on.
That was your last point.
Yes.
That was it. No, but I feel as if the issues that it touches on, both visually and with its dialogue, are things that you can talk about now that feel very modernist. Like, this is also a time you got to realize in film that you didn't have two female characters talk to each other. Remember, there's that whole...
It's the Bechdel test, yeah.
Yeah. And in this, you have two female women,
Female women.
female characters talking to each other, and they're talking about the same bizarre realities that everyone else is.
Yeah,
And
because they're all... like, everybody's part of the human experience, yeah.
And it feels really bizarre like that. But, Michael, what are your final thoughts on Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad. Whatever the film... You're doing my thing now, which is just like, when you can't think of something, just say something that's obviously not it.
Cuphead. What do you think of Cuphead?
What do you think of Cuphead? But, it's one of those things that's hard to kind of come up with a definitive, this is what I think of it, because there are so many kind of wildly, like, the content in it varies so wildly that it's, you can really like and really respond to some aspects of it in some conversations, and completely either misinterpret or misunderstand or just not understand at all, other elements with it.
But the thing is, everything in it seems so meaningless. Like, there's no resolution to the story. So even if you don't understand anything, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just move on to the next thing.
Just move on to the next thing.
It's just this weird kind of like buffet of personal philosophies, and you can kind of pick and choose. Like, did you respond to this? Did you enjoy this? Did you not enjoy this?
And in that sense, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, you just go through it, picking and choosing what you like and what you want to take in as the truth of the movie's messages.
And if you enjoy it, but you don't really take any of it on board in order to, like, you don't really assimilate any of it, and use any of that information to, dictate how you live from now on, if none of it changes you or changes your perspective, that's fine. Also,
I have
impact.
two more things to say. I remembered.
Yes, go.
The first thing... What was the first thing?
Were they about Star Wars?
Okay, so the first thing was that I think this would have been better to be released as a few shorts rather than as one whole film. Because as you said before, it is a bit too long.
Yeah.
And it might have been a bit more interesting to release it as a few shorts.
It is. Do I have the runtime here? No, it's about an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think it would have, like, made people a lot more interested in what was going to be happening in every short that you watch.
I don't think so.
I don't think you'd have a high retention rate because it's so
the same.
No, because you could, depending on your own view of the world, like, because everyone's philosophy, how they govern themselves and how they live their life differs so wildly that you might not respond to any of the, you might not listen to or like respond to any of the talks within like the first half of the film, but you might respond to the ones, in the
Which is
latter
what
half.
I did.
Yeah. So, if you watch the first couple of shorts, presumably if they broke it up, and you didn't respond to any of those, there's really no reason to keep watching.
Yeah,
but if it's part of
stop
one collective work, I think it works as this parade of ideas and concepts.
Well,
And
that's
plus-
just my opinion.
And plus, it puts you in the character of the state of the main character in which he can't escape it,
Yeah.
where he
It's
just
just
has to watch it.
Yeah, is that
But I could stop watching it, though. I
No-
did,
no,
in
but
fact,
you
for a
had
few
to.
hours.
Oh, so you watched a movie like I usually watch my movies.
Yes. And the second thing I wanted to say was that the title cards were bloody atrocious. I hated
really
it.
bad, yeah.
Okay.
But that's kind of part of that weird aesthetic to it.
It was really bad. There's no excuse.
Anyway, so yeah, my thoughts are it's like you'll.
I thought you finished your thoughts before.
No, we kind of segued, but
I
you know what I think. Again, it's just this cavalcade of different different philosophical musings, and you'll respond to some of it, and you won't respond to other stuff. And yeah, whether you like the film, I guess, is completely up to you. It's going to be different for everybody.
I think it'd be interesting if...
I would recommend it to most people.
I would recommend that one scene Mark showed us.
You start
Yeah.
with that because I think it's the most interesting conversation in the film. Because
I feel like just start the film from there.
But I'm interested in lucid dreaming. I find that concept interesting, so I think we respond to that accordingly. You might respond to different, you might respond to kind of like existentialist philosophy, or you might respond to like teachings of like Descartes or something like that. And there's, depending on your philosophical outlook on the world, you'll respond to different things. So
There's only one lucid dream I've ever had, and it's always consistent, and it's the one dream where I can jump really long. Not high, like really long.
just long.
Like, I can do this thing like, you know how there's a flight of stairs? I can jump down the whole flight of stairs in one jump. That's my
You can
lucid
do that
dreaming.
now. You just break everything upon
No,
landing.
but I don't break everything. I just
So
keep
it's not that
jumping.
you can
So
jump
it's not that you can
long,
jump any longer. It's that you can jump about the same distance as
but
you
your
normally
legs
could.
are more resistant to breaking.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but you could just keep jumping. Like, even upstairs, you can do one jump and you just continue that jump.
They're not life-changing jumps. They're just...
So
You just...
I am so
So you
impressed.
have a dream where you're on the moon and gravity is lower.
No, it's not the moon because it's specifically,
it's specifically
places
in the house.
No, it's not in the house. It's like it's
What
public
good is
places.
jumping
like
in the house?
Because no, it impresses people because they're like, oh, look at him doing that jump. That's like you do big
I just picture
jumps.
that little like polite clap from Monty Python.
No,
It's
one
like it's
claps.
impressive, but like, eh.
Look, that's the extent of my lucid dreaming.
Anyway, Ben, would you recommend it? Waking Life.
I would. Again, just don't be tired when you watch it. And expect no plot for the first half of the film.
All right. Where can you find us, Ben? That's it.
And that's Stefan's house. That's where we are.
Ben, where do we live digitally?
Okay, so if you want to contact us... Wait, no. Before we get into that. Next week, we are going to be talking about the Netflix film Next Gen, which came out in 2018. So, do you want to do a bit of sizzle for what we thought for that? No,
No,
okay.
no.
So, if you want to contact us, you can find us at animate3pod@gmail.com or visit us on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else are we on?
To date,
YouTube pages.
To date, we've received one email and I think one nice comment.
Received
2 emails.
2 emails.
What was the second email?
No, that was a YouTube comment.
Oh, who emailed us? Said we were doing good.
Someone, I forgot.
Oh, that's nice. Can I read that one?
Maybe I'm imagining. Maybe I'm dreaming things up.
Oh, maybe.
Curse you,
no.
waking
Quick,
life.
quick, flick the lights on and off.
Spin a spinning top. Wait, wrong movie.
Goodbye.
This is really going off the rails, this episode.
Just turn the mic off.
No, I need to say the other things. You have to edit so much. I'm
So
so
much.
sorry. What else is there? Yeah, we are on most places where you can listen to podcasts, except for Google Podcasts, because I can't get that for Australia for some reason. And that is all. Wow, there actually wasn't much.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry, guys. I've been off my game this episode. Bye.
If I just turn off.